And it is truly a privilege to be joined live in studio. Former State College baseball player, a member of the first team All-ACC after an incredible season in his sophomore year, Jack Hurley, a member of the Virginia Tech Hokie baseball team, is with us on PA Prep Sports Breakdown. Matt Bortner filling in for Jason Lord. I'm Zach Seyko. Jack, thank you. Really, it's a treat.
Of course, I'm excited to be here, and I'm glad to talk some high school and college sports here.
And I want to thank your former high school baseball coach, Jeremy Dinsmore, for helping us coordinate this and set this up. And Jack is going to be joining us for an extended segment, so he will be with us for the remainder of the show until 6 p.m. First things first, and I know we're going to be talking a lot pro, college. Let's start at the high school level because Matt and I, believe it or not, we did play high school sports at one point in time.
Just not as good as some others.
No, not
as well as some others.
How would we rank each other in the room of best athletes? I think Jack takes number one. But you had to miss out on your senior season, and I got to call a couple of basketball games that you played in against. I covered Mifflin County sports, so I got to see you play other sports, and people were telling me for the first time, hey, Jack's a really good. He's playing basketball because he's an incredible athlete, but something you need to know about him is he is a baseball star in the making. You missed out on your senior season because of the COVID-19 just hit us, and we had no idea how to react, what to do, and now we're still adjusting through it. For you, what was that adjustment process like? You knew you were going to the next level, but you couldn't do it one last time for state high.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blow knowing that we weren't going to be able to go out there and play with our friends just for one last season that we were all looking forward to. And that, it hurt for a few months just because you want to go out there with Coach Dins, all those guys, some of our best friends, and compete against some pretty quality competition. But then you got to turn the page and realize that this, I guess it happens, and how am I gonna help myself get to the next level and have a little bit of success? So I kind of turned that into a little bit of motivation to go down to Virginia Tech and try to make an impact right away. So just by training, working hard in the gym, not missing out on those swings that we were supposed to miss out on, really helped me not have as hard of the transition to Virginia Tech from state high.
What do you think that season would have been like for you guys? And there were a lot of good kids on that group, and state high, always in the district championship, always a threat to make it in the state playoffs. I don't mean to, it's reminiscing on what's looked at as a negative time, but what do you think? What kind of potential did that team have?
Oh, I think it had a lot of potential. I know there was so much energy leading up to it just because a bunch of guys going to play in college, and usually that gives us some confidence in high school because we know we're going to go play at the next level, and we had a bunch of those guys. But it could have been a winning team. It could have definitely made a run in the state tournament. But you really can't predict it because it's baseball and anything can really happen. But I'd put money on it that it was a winning team.
Well, you had two excellent coaches in Troy Allen and Dinsmore.
Yeah.
What would you say were the best things you learned from those two guys? And different perspectives, obviously, Troy with the professional experience, and then you go to Dinsmore. But I'm sure they both brought to you lessons or even things that you learned the most from them.
Yeah, Troy, he brought me on as a freshman, which, I wasn't really expecting, but I think that opened up my eyes to some real competition and what it was going to take to, compete at that level. So I credit Troy because he pushed me kind of just to have success kind of throughout high school. And then
having freshman experience, did that help you as a freshman in college too, sort of being like, no, I know it's a completely different level, especially in the ACC, but, sort of being like, okay, maybe these lights aren't too bright for me.
Yeah, sure. As a freshman in high school, I can barely remember kind of some of the stuff I was thinking about, but I'm sure there's older guys that I was looking up to, and I was kind of trying to follow those guys. So taking that maybe into my freshman year of Virginia Tech, just trying to look up to the older guys and kind of learn from them how they had success.
Jack Hurley, Virginia Tech outfielder, former State College baseball player, in studio with us. Matt Bortner filling in for Jason Lord. I'm Zach Seyko. Now you're at Virginia Tech, an incredible sophomore season. There were points and times, just getting back into the swing of things, and to have this sophomore season, a lot of training, a lot of practice, and like you said, never missing the swings that others might have missed. You took that initiative. I had an interesting conversation with Coach Dinsmore off the air, just, about who you are as a person, who you are as a player, and that he just said, you just attacked everything with your training. Can you talk about that process that helped you have that sophomore leap? People say the sophomore slump. You had the sophomore leap. So what all went into that with the training, coaches you might have worked with? How did it all come together?
Yeah, so after my freshman year, I experienced a little bit of success. I also had a lot of failure, but I mean
that's baseball.
That's baseball. And I played a little bit in the summer in Charlottesville. It's the Tom Sox in the Valley League, and I played there for about 2 weeks. And I realized I need to get a little bit better. I need to get a little bit stronger. And then I took that into the fall, where you get a ton of at-bats in inter squads. You're scrimmaging against your own team, and that's really, really beneficial because they're really good arms that you're facing every day. But I think the biggest jump that I took was I made some swing changes, and mechanically I cleaned some things up. So if you look at my swing from my freshman year to my sophomore year, it's very much different. I look a lot more comfortable. I'm more straight up and down, got a little bit different of a leg kick. Just certain things that I kind of just wanted to work on in the fall, and I carried it into the season. But another thing could be mentally. I was my freshman year, I was a little bit immature mentally, riding that roller coaster of emotions, getting high and low. I mean, it's baseball, so I kind of just tried to eliminate that and kind of add a mental process into my sophomore year and how I was going to handle the success and the bad times too.
You just say you have a pretty big leg kick in your approach at the plate. How tough can that be to find the timing on that, and how much work does that take to figure that out?
It's all timing. Hitting's all timing, and you really have to be in sync with the pitcher. And it starts on deck, where it actually starts in the hole. Whenever you're in the hole and you're trying to time up the pitcher, and then on deck you're trying to do the same thing. And if you take that and do those mental reps and those physical reps, and continue to get comfortable with that move, it gets a lot easier. At first, it was a struggle. My freshman year, I had to really get it going early.
Yeah, when did you start picking that up?
The leg kick.
Yeah,
I've been doing it all my life.
Okay,
and then obviously there was a jump in competition from high school to the ACC.
A little bit faster.
But yeah, it took a little bit in college to really get a grip on. But I think this sophomore year I felt really comfortable with it, and I cleaned it up a little bit too.
Which coaches and teammates maybe helped you out the most, or you were able to pick stuff up from? You said the older guys and everybody else, but is it guys in the outfield room? Is it the hitting coach? Who can you attest and say, hey, I was able to get better because of him?
Yeah, I think it's really important to, learn from others, and we had a pretty big leader, Gavin Cross. He was just picked up 9th overall in the Major League Baseball draft, and to have him out there, kind of learning from him, I think it was huge, just because he might not be teaching me directly, but I get to watch him, and I get to watch him every day, and how he approaches things, and how he, swings and does everything daily. So to see a guy like that have so much success, and it's in front of my eyes, I think he really helped me. And then also all my coaches at Virginia Tech, all my coaches at State High, they've all helped me get to where I'm at today, not only as a player, but just as a person too. But definitely Coach Elbin, our assistant coach, he's our hitters coach, and we work every day together just about certain stuff. And it's really about getting comfortable, and how comfortable and how sound can you be with your body.
You mentioned Gavin, and Nick was also selected as well. What was it like on draft day? I mean, and that's the goal, to follow in those footsteps and do something very similar to what your teammates have done. So now Gavin and Nick are in the majors. You're still at Virginia Tech working towards that yourself when you're ready and eligible. But what was it like to be alongside them? What was even draft night like for you?
Yeah, I got to watch it with my friends here. because they followed us pretty closely.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was pretty cool. My family was watching it. We saw Gavin get picked 9th, and then Tanner Schober, our shortstop, got picked in the 2nd round. I think he was 68th overall, and he was my roommate. So it was so cool just seeing those guys, like, you know, obviously getting the chance to play at the next level, but getting a pretty good chance to play at the next level, especially with the money involved and all that stuff. And then, you know, the next day, the 2nd day, we got our catcher, Cade Hunter, and then Nick Biddison also drafted. And, I mean, they work just as hard as anybody. So it's really cool. And then the 3rd day, we got Graham Firevet, a pitcher. And there should be a few more signings to come. But it's just so cool watching it on TV. Like, you're like, hey, I know that guy. Like, that's my roommate. Like, like he's on TV now.
I kind of feel like, too, it has to fuel the fire more because you're like, man, I'm in a program that has the ability to take me to this place, to have a chance to play at the next level.
And I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to miss out. All these other guys are having fun.
Yeah, no, I can really remember, like, last year whenever I was watching the draft and this year when I was watching the draft, I was like, I can use this as motivation. Like, I want to be in their shoes one day. And I mean, it takes so much hard work, but it is motivational because you see all these guys having like that cool opportunity, and you want it too. It's just nature. And I think a lot of guys are like that too.
Speaking of motivation, you guys had a fantastic season, but in terms of national pundits, a lot of guys didn't think your team would be as successful as they were this year. Just how fulfilling was this season, and then what's it like playing in front of the home crowd in the college baseball tournament?
It's always a good feeling proving somebody wrong. Like that feeling, it doesn't get old. And preseason, you know, we were ranked whatever in the ACC. We were supposed to go 2nd to last, I think.
They got that one wrong.
Yeah.
Trust the experts, they say.
Yeah, and it was cool because you kind of knew something special was happening about like a couple weekends into the series or into the year. And, you know, throughout the year, you're winning each weekend, and it's like you're starting to get a little bit of respect on the rankings and all this social media and all that stuff. It's cool to see. And it was so cool to play in a regional in front of the home crowd, super regional in front of the home crowd. And we have such a strong fan base. Virginia Tech and Blacksburg, the fans are crazy. It's kind of like a miniature Penn State in my eyes. You know, the backing that the community gives to the sports and the programs, it's unreal. And it was so much fun to play in front of those people.
Virginia Tech outfielder and former State College high school baseball player Jack Hurley joining us live in studio on PA Prep Sports Breakdown. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about the Virginia Tech season, why it was so magical, what we can expect from Jack and the team in the future, and plus a little bit of conversation about NIL.
Yeah, and a well-traveled man over here.
Yeah, on State College's ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
Now back to PA Prep Sports Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450. Get in on the action by calling the show at 814-272-9625.
Matt Bortner filling in for Jason Lord. I'm Zach Seyko. This is PA Prep Sports Breakdown, our show devoted to high school sports in central Pennsylvania. We're taking a deviation today as Virginia Tech outfielder and former State College high school baseball player Jack Hurley is with us in studio. So much we can get to in so little time here with just under 12 minutes to go. Jack, again, I want to thank you so much for your time, taking it out of your very busy schedule. You mentioned before we went to break, a well-traveled man. I think that's very appropriate because out of all the accolades that I've listed so far, I've neglected to mention that you were a member of the USA Collegiate National Baseball team that went over to the Netherlands. I mean, that had to be the experience of a lifetime.
Yeah, it was so much fun playing with the best players in the country and some of the best coaches in the country too that you thought you'd probably never meet. But the selection process, it goes like you play in North Carolina for a week and you get evaluated pretty heavily there. But they also have a pretty good idea of what you did during the year, so they take both sides into it, and then they narrow down the 50-man roster to a 26-man roster. And to make that 26-man roster was really, really cool, and it opened my eyes because I got to play in front of kids that are really good, and not Virginia Tech's not really, really good.
Yeah.
But I mean these are some really good athletes that are going to play professional baseball for a while.
Yeah, that was going to mention for all you listeners out there and put that into context. In this year's draft, there were 35 alumni of the USA team that were drafted in the Major League Draft, and man, I'm just looking in top 90, the amount there. It's, I think, about 20 players. The highest overall, Jacob Berry at 6. Your teammate Gavin Cross at 9. So
Yeah.
you're playing it even. I feel like even the process to get to play against other countries, you're bettering yourselves by playing against those guys.
You're representing the United States.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it is truly tops.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, representing the country, going overseas, and you got the USA across your chest, and you want to play your best because everybody wants to, and it's so fun playing against the other teams. We played against Japan, Cuba, all those teams. It was like the Little League World Series in college, honestly. It's what it felt like, kind of. But yeah, again, to your point with the guys drafted this year, there was tons of them, and it was cool to see. It was another motivational thing that you kind of see, and you're like, well, I want to do that too. So
you're just like me in one way. It's that you crave American food when you get out of the country.
Man,
that's the only thing we got in common.
Yeah, I left there, and whenever I was coming home, I was super excited to get some Chipotle. There's just not the same food over there, and maybe I'm a little bit of a picky eater, but I really, really enjoy the food in America.
What was that experience like playing the games, playing teams from other countries and seeing the best? What's the performance or the game that you're going to look back on the most? Because you said that you had a busy schedule, you're playing just about every single day.
Imagine too, it's guys. I mean, the other countries you're playing different styles of baseball too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Small ball, everything else in between. But which teams did you man, they were a headache to play, and which games you're like, I'm going to remember this at bat or this play in the field? Just what's always going to stand out to you?
I think the first game when we just got there and we played Japan, it was just like really cool because we were standing out there for their anthem and our anthem, and it kind of hit you like we're representing the country here. This is pretty cool. And then you get on the field and they're doing all these different types of things that we don't do, but they're probably looking at the same way, like why are you guys playing like that? And it's just two different styles of play competing against each other, and it's really cool to see.
You're back in State College now, I mean, and you've had so many good experiences between the run that Virginia Tech had, and now you guys you've made a name for yourselves. Again, the rankings that came out, or at least the predictions, bottom of the ACC, no chance to make an impact. Now that script flips. Everyone's going to be buying into Virginia Tech. So let's start with that. What's the outlook for the team, and what needs to be done now that people are going to respect the Hokies a little more going into next season?
Yeah, I think the coaching staff does a good job every year getting the right guys from the transfer portal and from all the grad transfers to Virginia Tech to have a pretty complete team. Because if you look at the draft and the seniors, we lost a ton of guys, and it's going to be hard to fill in shoes for Gavin Cross, Tanner Schobel, all those guys. But it's doable, and we're going to have to do it. So they did really good with recruiting in the offseason, the guys that we need and the spots that we're going to need to fill. And yeah, I think you can expect another winning team, another team that's going to be pretty blue collar, pretty gritty. That's just how Coach Sheff likes to do it down there. He recruits guys that don't like to lose and are winners. So I think you can expect a winning team, and I think it's going to be a little bit more balanced because we had a lot of hitting this year, like an absurd amount, and the pitching was really good too, which kind of had us propel into the off season. But I think it's going to be a little bit more balanced, like hitting to pitching as pitching is to hitting. And you got a few key returners coming back, like Drew Hackenberg on the mound.
I was going to say, because we're right outside of Penn State here, Drew Hackenberg, Christian Hackenberg's younger brother's on that team with you.
He's pretty darn good.
He actually was at the USA trials with me, and he's one of the best pitchers I faced all year. I can tell you that, like just in inter squads.
I'm glad he's your teammate.
Yeah. I'm definitely glad he's my teammate. But he's going to be a huge guy next year. We got a guy returning, Griffin Green. He's our starting pitcher on Friday nights. He'll be a key factor also. And then offensively, we got tons of guys coming back.
I got a quick moment to get to you about too. It's homering at Fenway Park.
Oh, yeah.
What's up with not going opposite field over the monster?
I don't even think I could do that in batting practice. That thing is high. I was playing left field and the ball was drilled off the wall, and it just felt weird. I like turned around. I was like, man, I'm at Fenway Park, and I just played that ball off the wall. Like it was like an everyday thing, and I wish it could be, but it was like something like that. And
maybe someday,
maybe someday. But yeah, I would have much rather hit an opposite field home run there to say I did. But I mean, the experience to play there was unreal. And, you know, running around the bases after the home run was something that I will definitely not forget ever.
Like the Virginia Tech team and talking about their outlook, for you personally, what does that outlook look like? Because you're back in state college, so I guess this is a little bit of downtime for you before you start the next semester. Fall ball is very important to get better. They always say you get better in the off season. And your eyes are obviously set on the MLB Draft, getting selected as high as possible, and then making an impact in the minor leagues to eventually, you know, make it to the show. So for you now, what's the process like? What are you working on specifically? What do workouts look like? Just what is your blueprint right now?
Yeah, so I today actually I had a meeting with Rob Oshinsky from Victory Sports, Victory is the best gym. It's awesome, so much fun. And we sat down and we talked about kind of some of the workouts that I want to do and what I want to improve, and we just from a weightlifting standpoint and conditioning too. And I'm not swinging a bat or throwing a ball for at least this next 4 weeks, just because I've done it so much this year, and it's nice to do that, but definitely get stronger with my legs. And, you know, once I get back onto the field in the fall, work on stuff that, you know, maybe I can like get better here. And I haven't really thought about it too much because the season just ended. Yeah. But I'll go back and watch some video and look at some like reports and stuff and figure out what I can do to, you know, give me the best chance for next year. Have you had any conversations with pro scouts yet? Has anybody talked to you or evaluated you? Yeah, I mean, the evaluators are everywhere. Because Gavin and all those guys this year, there was evaluators, literally scouts every game, every practice almost. And I've talked to a few scouts. I just random, like every once in a while you get a phone call or something. But it will start kicking into high gear here next year or next fall now. This fall, actually, and in the spring, it'll start to become a reality here. When you're watching pro baseball games, and do you have a favorite team? Is it Boston? Is it somebody? Who's your favorite Major League Baseball team? Yeah, I'm a Pirates fan. So okay. This can turn into a little bit of a support group now because I'm also a Pirates fan. Okay.
Playing well now, right now, but
in the past we've all suffered together. I mean. Then you're just as excited as I am about Brian Hayes, O'Neal Cruz, and everything else. But when you get the chance to watch a little bit of pro baseball, what are you picking out of the game? Because I feel like you're seeing that as a player rather than so much as a fan. So when you're immersed in it as the way you are, what do you like to look for, and what do you just naturally pick up on? Yeah, it's hard to I don't really watch it as a fan. I watch it as a student kind of. Just like, what do these guys do? And it's just cool to see how much rhythm the hitters have and how pitchers affect the game on the mound just by having a dominant presence. I like to look at that stuff. I like to look at how much rhythm the hitter can have and how it affects him in the batter's box and their routines, what they do, pitch to pitch. They step out of the box, they undo the batting gloves, maybe they tap the bat on the ground. What kind of routines that they do that might work for them that I could pick up on. Who do you stay in contact with? I know teammates but you and I talked off the air because I got to watch guys from Redland. I didn't get to see Benny Montgomery, unfortunately. He's with the Rockies, but you're all kind of in that similar class, the mid-pen baseball to either a high-end college, university, and then ultimately pros. The Wagner guys, Cole and Luke. How often do you stay in touch with guys that are from this local area that are now going to separate parts of the country? Yeah, a couple of months ago, I had a pretty long conversation with Benny Montgomery, and it was cool because he's now in the minors and he's doing what I want to do, and it was cool to talk to him for a while. But the Wagner boys, I keep up with them just on social media and stuff. And all the guys that were in the mid-pen that go to Penn State, I have pretty good relationships with, like Kyle Hannon. And there's other all
ones
those guys.
I'm probably forgetting all those guys, and it's cool. And the Cooper boys, like Tyson and Jake, Kevin Carsetter, all the guys that I played with from here. Obviously, I'm still hanging out with them whenever I come home and working out with them. But from the other mid-pen, I saw Troy Scheffler just got drafted. He went to Central Dauphin.
Yep.
And there's people I'm probably forgetting, but definitely I keep in contact with as much as possible with those guys.
Virginia Tech outfielder, former State College baseball player Jack Hurley joining us in studio. Jack, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, I appreciate you.